As many of my followers know, I've been publishing a series of videos on the 1966 film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which I consider the greatest film of all time. Don't laugh, Quentin Tarantino agrees with me. In a previous video, I highlighted the acting skill of the characters in the film, including many of the extras in the film and the leading roles played by Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef. All do commendable jobs, although they were not required to exhibit a lot of range. Clint Eastwood is naturally cool, calm, and collected, and everything Lee Van Cleef does is sinister. These are fine actors, but not much was required of them as they were perfectly cast in their roles. However, I left out the acting of Eli Wallach because his character is by far the most in-depth and was going to require a video of its own. In fact, I'll have to break this into 2 videos. Yes, the character is that complex. Eli puts on a performance that is easily one of the best in film history. And in this video, I want to explain why it was necessary for the director Sergio Leone to select someone of Eli's caliber. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Showdowns have been a staple of westerns from the beginning of time, but typically suffer the same flaw, a lack of suspense. You know that the good guy with the white hat will draw faster than the bad guy. For an audience of children, that's fine. However, adults grimace watching such scripted outcomes. But how does one make a showdown suspenseful? The good guy has to win, right? And the bad guy has to lose. Sergio Leone loved his showdowns and tried to spin them in new ways to capture the audience's attention. In the first of Sergio's westerns, A Fistful of Dollars, he spiced up the normal showdown with a speed test between loading a rifle and a pistol. For his second movie, For a Few Dollars More, he included a music box in the plot. In Once Upon a Time in the West, he used the showdown to reveal the motive for Charles Bronson's character to hunt down the bad guy, played by Henry Fonda. Everyone knew that Fonda was going to die. The suspense centered on why. In The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, Sergio Leone upped the ante for the showdown by featuring 3 men instead of 2, the traditional Mexican standoff. Again, the problem was suspense. The good, played by Eastwood, was clearly going to come out the victor, and the bad, played by Lee Van Cleef, well, he was toast and everyone knew it. But what about the ugly? If portrayed as a bad person that the audience wanted to see die, then the good would simply gun him and the bad down. If the ugly, however, was portrayed as a hero of sorts, then both of them would simply train their guns on the bad and split the profits. No suspense there. But suppose we have the ugly a vile, despicable, slimy, smelly character that the audience could relate to. They don't want to see him killed, but they can't see him winning either. Perfect. The result is the greatest showdown in film history, and is probably the only one where the outcome is unknown. To make it work, the scriptwriters had to pull out the stops in their own talents, and they needed an actor who knew how to work an audience. But Sergio ran into a problem, namely Clint Eastwood. He had starred in the 2 previous Sergio Leone westerns. In the first one, he was the only star, but he had to share almost equal billing with Lee Van Cleef in the second one. Now he was being asked to share accolades with 2 other actors, and he balked. He even joked that, hey, at some point, I'm going to be asked to co-star with the 7th Cavalry. Now, before you tear Clint apart for his ego, this is business. Clint was looking out for himself, and he was pretty shrewd in his business dealings. Can't fault him for that. Furthermore, Sergio and Clint didn't exactly get along well. They didn't speak the same language, and Sergio was overbearing and demanding. Sergio begged and pleaded with Clint, and once he threw enough money and a Ferrari at him, Clint acquiesced. Now remember, Clint was worried about being upstaged, and I would love to have seen the look on his face once he found out that the third character was going to be played by Eli Wallach. Eli has largely escaped worldwide fame. But among actors, he was a highly regarded commodity, kind of like how King Crimson is to music. He had studied under Lee Strasberg, probably the most famous theater trainer of that era, and had already won Tony, BAFTA, and Golden Globe awards. Clearly, if Clint was worried about being upstaged, well, he had a lot to worry about. It didn't help that Leone and Wallach spoke French and ended up bonding during the filming. This mutual trust allowed Leone to give Wallach a lot of leeway in improvising the script, and he does a lot of ad-libbing, including this famous line.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
He also improvised a lot of mannerisms, such as the incessant crossing of himself throughout the film. This scene here, in the gun shop, is almost all Eli Wallach winging it. In the end, Clint was upstaged in nearly every scene. Luckily, it didn't hurt his career any. Although originally panned by critics, Hollywood saw in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly a great movie with great directing, music, and acting. The film essentially propelled Clint to superstardom. I want to be clear on one point. Clint and Eli would go on to become good friends. Clint even hired Eli to star in one of his own motion pictures, and claimed that working with Eli was one of the great joys in his career. So the two got along famously. Eli would continue acting until his last film, The Train, which he performed at the age of 98. For The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Sergio Leone gave Eli Wallach a most difficult task. Make a character that has not done a single good thing for anyone throughout the entire movie, that has committed the most despicable of crimes, who has tried to kill the good guy twice in the most cruel of ways, and even slugged his brother, who is a priest, who has shown himself to be completely untrustworthy, who is filthy, uneducated, embodies the worst character traits of any villain appearing in a film. Make the audience pull for him. And for anyone studying to be an actor, you will learn a lot by studying the technique of Eli Wallach. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.
Do you dance together?
No, no, no.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
On occasion. Is it Ann Jackson, Eli Wallach, and Arkin?
Yes,
From
it
Laura?
is.